Hi. Um, yeah, I don't usually make a whole lot of videos on YouTube, but I had to make one video um, just regarding, I mean, regarding this story about the recent mass shooting in Las Vegas. It's an article from the Daily Mail, and the headline, you can go look it up. Um, the headline of the article reads, "It was their love that saved her. Hero boyfriend saved his girlfriend's life after she was, well, literally after she was left with 4 bullet holes in her heart." There's a typo. It says she was. Uh, It was their love that saved her. Hero boyfriend saved his girlfriend's life after she was left with 4 bullet holes in her heart in Vegas massacre. So, okay, um, this story, I'm not going to go into the details, all the details of what this story says. Um, I want you to just read it for yourself, okay? But I just would like to tell you that I think that what they are doing with this story, because, well, I will just tell you up front that from my opinion, from reading this story, that I think, I mean, if you believe this story, that, I have a bridge on the dark side of the moon I would like to sell you. All you have to do is give me all of your credit cards, all of your bank account information, etc., etc. Just go stand and wait on the train tracks tomorrow at 6:66 p.m. and wait for the train to come and pick you up, and it'll take you to my deep underground moon spaceport, and you will be taken through my own personal Stargate to, where the where you will be teleported to the prime real estate that I actually have on the dark side of the moon, which is really it's like a beatific paradise. I mean, it's like, you know you think uh, Mars, a logo or whatever is good. Wait till you see my real estate on the dark side of the moon, because it is. I tell you, it is fantastic. So, anyway, yeah, that's what I think. If you believe this story, I would like to just make that offer to you. So, uh, anyway, you can message me or whatever. But here's what I honestly, I'm joking, of course. None of that stuff is true. Sorry to burst your bubble if you were getting your hopes up. But okay, here's the thing. What do, like I said, go read the story for yourself. But I have to, what occurs to me, what are they doing with this story? Because it's so blatant, it's so obviously false, cannot be true. Just briefly, some of the claims made in the story were that this boyfriend shielded his girlfriend from the bullets, but she was still hit in the shoulder, in her arm, or whatever, and then the bullet uh, splintered and it pierced her lungs and pierced her heart 4 times, or made 4 holes in her heart. Um, and then after the bullet hit her, she said to her boyfriend, "I'm having trouble breathing," and then collapsed. And then I don't know if you can believe that, but then seeing as it pierced her left ventricle. Um, yeah, that's what it says in the story. Um, and I don't know how she could collapse if she was already on the ground with when her boyfriend was shielding her. But anyway, she collapsed. I don't know. I mean, this story is just so nonsensical. I mean, it's like, you know, to continue, she was somehow conscious all the way to the hospital, um, and she can, you know, continued. You know, she was, you know, it talks about how, you know, he was, you know, telling her, "Stay with me, baby," and you know, and I mean, I'm sorry, but this is just so bad. You know, I mean, it's like if you think this is an a real thing, you know, and I'm just being really irreverent, you know, and horribly, you know, cynical to be, you know, picking it apart this way, but you know, I'm sorry, but it's just so bad. It's so um, awful, you know. But it's like, so yeah, you know, then he takes her to the hospital, and you know, oh, it's in. Also, he takes her to the hospital in the back. You know, they meet somebody who had just commandeered somebody's pickup truck that was in the parking lot and just happened to have the keys in it or whatever, or I don't know. And all of the people in the story are like Marines or military people or firefighters or whatever. It's like one of the guy, two of the they met two firefighters, and then the one firefighter had been shot in the foot, but still helped um, the boyfriend to load his girlfriend onto a beer cart and then take her to the, you know, get her into the pickup truck. Um, it says that the pickup truck was used to transport 2 dozen people in total to local hospitals. Maybe they made more than one trip, but I don't think you could fit 2 dozen people in a pickup truck all at the same time in the back of a pickup truck. You know, they'd be like piled up, like they'd be packed in there like sardines. You know, all these critically injured people thrown into a back of a pickup truck, and then rushed to. I mean, it's so bad. I mean, I'm sorry. Just this is comically stupid. It's just like, okay, so then this story, they took these people in the back of this pickup truck, you know, which they had, the girlfriend was loaded by, you know, another person who had just had his foot blown off, who was a firefighter. And, you know, why aren't there, I mean, it's like, why aren't there any ambulances? It's like, you know, I don't know if if you've been following this story closely. There's so many inconsistencies. Like, there's no way that, you know, it's like there's, if you've been looking at any of the video footage, you don't see any ambulance. You don't see first responders. Like on CNN, there's a video where, you know, it shows, you know, just people who were there, you know, assisting the injured people, and it's like, you know, why are they doing the job of first responders? Why aren't first responders there? And in the video also, there's, I'm going off on a tangent here, but in this video, this CNN video, there's also no blood or anything like that. So anyway, so continuing on, you know, with this article about the boyfriend, the person goes, you know, she gets taken to the hospital in the pickup truck, and then the hero boyfriend, you know, takes her, gets her to the hospital, and you know, I mean, it's very dramatic the way it's written. You know, he like takes and he puts the oxygen mask on her, you know, lovingly, and which, why would the hospital allow the boyfriend to like participate in caring for a critically injured person? I mean, it's so ridiculous. you know, I, I don't know, but to me, it's like when I've ever been to hospitals, they don't allow you to participate in I mean, they're pretty like controlling. They're like, they don't. They're like, get the hell out of the way. Let us. They don't. I mean, it's like it's like you can just imagine the violins playing. I mean, it's just like. But I mean, come on, who believes this shit? I mean, come on. So they're um, I mean, like I said, she had supposedly stayed conscious through the entire trip to the hospital and being transported and all this stuff and being loaded into a beer cart with 4 bullet holes in her heart and holes in her lungs. I don't know a lot, but I've heard from that if you get your lungs pierced, your lungs tend to collapse, and she didn't go unconscious or go into shock or whatever, and if your heart is pierced with holes, also you would have massive internal bleeding with your chest filling up with blood. I mean, it would be really, really, even with like, an ambulance that just got there, right away and just, I mean, your chances of, and if you survive something like that, would just be total, absolutely miraculous. I mean, much less with people, jostling you around and throwing you into a pickup truck. I mean, it's, but, so, I mean, if you just think about this story and think about what they're saying, it's just, it's so absurd. But I guess, I mean, I want you to read it for yourself and just, I'll link it in the video description. So, but yeah, here's what I had to ask myself: why? How can they be so blatantly absurd? And it's like, why? Why wouldn't they at least, if they were going to try to trick people, why wouldn't they at least write something that is at least somewhat plausible? That is so difficult for anyone who applies any kind of rational thought to it, or you know just sense, uh, that would never believe it. Why would they write and put out a story like that in a mass publication like the Daily Mail? And also, this girl has a GoFundMe page, and pictures up on her GoFundMe page with her with the governor of Nevada and with her with Mickey Mouse. And I mean, it's like, why would they do all this stuff and make it so um, ridiculous? I mean, and I guess really the answer that comes to me is why they're doing this way is that it's what they're doing is they're mocking you, okay? They are mocking you. They are telling you with the story, they are telling you how incredibly stupid that they think you are, okay? They are telling you how stupid they think you are. And it's like, I think this is a kind of an important insight into how the minds of the elite people, the cabal, or whatever you want to call it, of people who are using these kinds of events to program the masses, or um, prepare us for acceptance of what it is they want to bring. um, they are they're using, the, the way that they think. I think it's, it's speaks to how they view the masses as, um, and it's a hateful kind of, um, very, what I would, I think you could only call a very kind of wicked sort of mentality, that they, and of mockery and, um, sort of scorn, and, just kind of, uh, I think that they feel that that and there, it shows a certain amount of arrogance as well. But I think that they feel that you, the person reading this story, the average person out there, is so stupid, so dumb and cowed, that they can put this ridiculous story in your face and you will believe it. And the fact that you will believe it from their point of view basically proves that you are too dumb and too stupid to rule your own life and think for yourself. You are too stupid. That it basically makes their case. The people believing this basically makes their case that they have the right to basically treat you as their cattle, to use you and treat you as their cattle, that they have the right to do with whatever they please. Okay? That is what they're doing with this story. They're mocking you, and they're sending the message that the fact that you will believe this gives them the right to do it with you whatever they please, because you are because you are dumb, cowed. You're a lesser being, okay? Because if to them, and that is, I believe, really what they think, and what they're doing this with the story, and why they put it out this ridiculous, absurd, um, story. And I think they also are mocking, humanity. That this is how they think. I think this is what they think of the kind of emotions that normal people feel. They think they're stupid, ridiculous, and you know, and disgustingly sappy, and they don't they're mocking. They're not only mocking normal people or the masses or whatever, they're also mocking love with this article. I think this is what they think of love, and it's really just kind of a really, when you look at it that way, it's really a sad and awful mentality, that they have this mentality that thinks this way about humanity and thinks this way about love, and believes that the fact that they can get away with deceiving people, in these ways, uh, really proves their right to treat them as cattle, and treat them however they please. And I mean, I guess that basically sums it up, what I think of this article and why I think that they did it, and why they wouldn't, actually in it. And you could sum up the whole story that way, why they wouldn't actually put out something that's like even somewhat believable, and why they would do such a sloppy job on this, because so many people are seeing through it. A lot of people are just, I think, kind of not looking, and you know, they just can't get over or get past the cognitive dissonance of it all, and it's just, it's it's scary. It's kind of scary to think that um, the people and the systems that are supposed to be in place to sort of have our best interests in mind actually view us with such contempt and scorn and mockery and basically just hatred, you know, very kind of a cruel wickedness and hatred that views our our humanity as something that they have the right to subjugate and dominate and exploit and feed off of and all the rest. So, um, I guess that I mean, if you've been looking at this stuff for as long as I have, I guess it's no surprise at all that they would do something like this and that they feel this way. But I think it's hard to understand for some people too. Why would they be so sloppy and blatant and ridiculous in some of this coverage? And I think that they're arrogant and they're counting on you. They're just really believe that you are a complete imbecile and a complete moron and just really hardly not worthy of existence because I mean if you believe that to them it proves. I mean I disagree with that. I mean I feel a little, I guess personally I feel angry somewhat at people's denial, but I also feel compassion for some of the reasons because people want to believe that they live in a safe world and that they are kept safe. People, especially in this country, I think in Western countries, we want to believe that the people that are in power um, have some benevolence or at least have some, kind of intention to look out for us and look out for society at large. And the media and all that kind of tries to perpetuate that fiction um, through through the kinds of stories that it sells and the way that it frames things. But that I mean a lot of people understand that the media is or feel a lack of trust in the media, but I think there's that kind of cognitive dissonance or whatever where um, people are not don't understand that how deep it goes or how deep is the contempt that the people who basically construct the kind of false narrative or scenery of existence that is or sort of the theater of for example American exceptionalism or what we are about in Western countries, um, and what the power structures are about. And it's becoming more and more obvious, I think, as time goes on, that the lack of concern for everyday people that is there in the ruling class or whatever, and that there is a culture within the ruling class of like I've said, kind of contempt for everyday people. And I mean it goes pretty deep. I mean personally I think that I'm pretty much 100% positive that it has all kinds of kind of occult origins, the sort of culture that goes along with it. I mean, kind of like the stuff that Stanley Kubrick tried to reveal in his some of his like Eyes Wide Shut or whatever. I mean, you can go deep, really deep down those rabbit holes, but I mean, I think it's really kind of important for just the mass. The mass of humanity to just get a basic understanding of this, and you know, sort of orient yourself in relation to that basic understanding, because I think it'll help a lot of people to understand what the differences, actual differences between good and evil. Um, because I think that people don't. I think that we're kind of being brainwashed and indoctrinated in this culture to believe that good and evil are just relative, and there is no um, there is no that the difference is kind of a subjective thing, or it's relative, and there's a million shades of gray, and that's one what I would call a motif within a lot of the psyops that are being deployed upon us to get us into that mentality. Um, and it's all good or whatever, and I mean, it gets really deep and complicated at this point, but I think that if people have the frame of reference of understanding that these people who um, kind of are the rulers of our society have this kind of culture um, within their small group um, that is fundamentally different spiritually from what a normal person is. A normal average person, I think, has a human being in their natural state. I personally believe has a sort of a spiritual constitution that makes them able to have empathy and understand, have kind of an inherent understanding of right and wrong, even if they're sort of not fully developed in that at where they're at. People have that within them, and I think the moral frameworks that we have in society are kind of built upon that. Um, that kind of inherent sense of right and wrong that we have. I personally believe that. I'm getting off on a tangent here, sorry, but I personally do believe that fixed structures like the Ten Commandments, or legal structures and all of that kind of stuff are sort of obsolete personally, but that there isn't a real you know rigid moral code that you can lay down that will apply in every situation. But there is a innate sense, I think, that people have, that people it has been attempted to be codified, um, but you can't always, obviously you can't always say, for example, there's never a circumstance. I mean, like, you know, in in every anything that you attempted to codify as an absolute wrong, you would have to say in some circumstance it might end up not, it might not be wrong. Like if you were, for example, if you were totally destitute and starving to death, and you know the only food available is too expensive and whatever, and your children are starving to death, and the only way you can get food is to steal it or something. I think that I mean, there are shades of gray in terms of the fact that you can't codify things that way, but at the same time, there also, I think, is a innate sense that refers to the to an absolute, or something that is kind of like a universal uh, balance or something. I don't know. But anyway, I think that that human beings are normal, everyday human beings who have empathy and a sense of right and wrong or whatever, have an innate connection to that, um, which I think that but that if you understand how the minds of, for lack of a better term, we'll call the elite work, um, you can understand that they don't have that they are actually, um, they actually seek to overturn that, and in that sense they're like revolutionary, or this gets into kind of almost theological stuff, because it's all about their religion and what they believe, and they believe in the entity called Lucifer, who is in rebellion against God, or what they view as the demiurge, and it goes back to Gnosticism, and it's a big it's a very deep kind of rabbit hole. But anyways, if you're not that familiar with it, maybe you want to understand it. But I think the basic understanding to have is that they're fundamentally opposed to that innate sense that most people who have humanity uh, within them have a connection to some degree, to some extent. But so if you understand that, that can give you sort of a frame of reference for your own understanding of the world, of what really is, the difference between right and wrong, good and evil, or whatever. I mean, personally, you can superimpose right and wrong onto good and evil, um, if you want to. But personally, I mean, I think I've come to understand that there is no such thing as right and wrong. Right and wrong are kind of an erroneous concepts, because even evil isn't wrong. I mean, it's not wrong. It's not wrong that this stuff is happening, because it's a part of our evolution as beings, and that is, I guess, the fundamental understanding I'm trying to convey here, is that basically the reason that this exists is to show us how to perceive, our own place in the universe as beings of light, or whatever. Um, we need this frame of reference. So anyway, I guess I went on a complete tangent there from talking about the article. Um, but yeah, go check out the article and see what you think. I think that they're definitely, intention in the article is to mock, like I said, um, to mock you, and to justify what their view of the masses, or humans in general, is, um, and their inherent right, and their inherent superiority, and therefore right to, uh, like I said, treat you like, like they're basically like their livestock. So, um, I guess that is about all. Actually, probably most farmers treat their livestock better, but um, or a lot of them do probably, or traditionally, uh, the traditional animal husbandry, there's definitely more probably love expressed for the animals within that uh, in it than what I mean. Probably, I don't know, maybe, I don't really know, but anyway, I'm gonna end there and just chew on that, I guess, and check out the article. You know, good luck to everyone, and coming to a better understanding through studying these events, and hopefully helping other people to come to their own understanding, and then hopefully we can all wake up and empower ourselves against this forces that are working against us all in the world to kind of try to enslave us, because I think that we're better than that personally. And you know but this is, I guess, maybe the test. So um, I hope everybody makes it through that. And, all right,